Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carmelita Nuki, the Executive Director of DAWN and the President of the Philippine Migrants' Rights Watch. Um, Today's webinar is on basic counseling techniques, empathy, and compassion building. As a background, we all know that the COVID-19 is a worldwide pandemic. In the Philippines, it has affected all sectors of society, including migrant women returnees and those in the destination countries displaced from their respective workplaces. A major issue that they are currently confronted with is mental health due to distress and possible trauma brought about by the pandemic. Many migrant women workers were forced to return home scarred or trapped in the country of destination, afraid and anxious for their individual welfare and well-being, as well as that of their families. Our October webinar series were held with our migrant women returnees and migrant women workers in the destination countries and their families to address these issues. To facilitate, assist, and address the pressing concerns of individual migrant women returnees and migrant women workers and their families, the second series of webinars will focus on the training of service providers. This series of webinars aim to enhance the existing skills and capacities of service providers on mental health and psychosocial support in order to effectively respond to the migrant women returnees and migrant women workers in the destination countries and members of their families amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Second is to identify current issues and challenges experienced by service providers on the area of mental health and psychosocial support. And third is to identify and strengthen the appropriate response and support mechanisms among service providers. It is in this regard that we invited you to this webinar series organized by Dawn in partnership with the British Embassy Manila. The third of which is this webinar on basic counseling techniques, empathy, and compassion building. So thank you everyone for joining us in this training workshop. We hope that we'll have a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. And now, to officially welcome you to this webinar, may we call on Ms. Aurora Habati de Dios, the President of the Dawn Board of Trustees and the Senior Project Director of WAGI. Oye, please.
Okay, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Thank you all for participating in this seminar, which is one in a series of training that we are holding for our service workers and our frontliners who are helping our fellow Filipinos in this time of crisis. I think you probably know what Dawn is all about. It's a very old NGO that's been helping in the first decade of its existence, was helping our Filipino entertainers in Japan and their children. Since so many years back, we have realized that this type of migration goes alongside the other types of migration where women are considered vulnerable. That is to say, Filipino domestic workers working in the Middle East, in other Asian countries, as well as in Europe. We all know that COVID-19 has been a tragic episode in our human history because there's no other comparative pandemic that has this kind of impact on society as a whole. First of all, it is global in scope. The second is that it has spared no one, not the rich country, not the poor countries. So all of us are affected equally. However, in looking at this tragedy, we must look at the very vulnerable sectors that are probably hanging in the edge because of their vulnerability, where they are poor, they are under-resourced, they are beyond the access to government services, and that they're only reliant on, the informal economies. And one of these vulnerable sector, of course, the migrant women. And from the profile of our migrant women, we know that they earn only just about enough to support their families. And with the end of their employment abroad, their families are suffering tremendously, financially, with no income, and probably dependent on the assistance that their neighbors as well as the government are giving. Apart from this immediate impact, one of the most invisible impact that we now are, trying to acknowledge is the impact on the mental health of everyone. Again, I might say that, well, yes, affected yung mga vulnerable sectors, but even us, professionals, teachers, students, we're all affected in ways we do not even imagine. So the fact that we cannot move, restricted ang mobility natin, and the fact that we cannot do the normal things that we are doing really is a shock to everyone, including myself. So the other long-term impact, of course, is the fact that our economies and the economies of other countries will suffer tremendously, making it impossible for them to receive so many migrants that they have been receiving in the past. Again, economically as well as financially at the household level, this will have a great financial impact. So, which brings us to the question as to what kind of migration policy should the government be adopting in the context of COVID and the impact of COVID in the long term. And lastly, I think one of the things that is going for us as Filipinos is that we are naturally caring. Yan ang sinasabi nila, yung mga nurses natin, talagang hindi lang sila mapagkumbaba, marunong makisama, at may, anong tawag dito, mayroong natural na caring attitude. So this is probably the best time that we can show that our society, even if it is suffering, is still a caring and sharing society. That is to say that we need to care for ourselves and our families, but we do need to extend this assistance and this caring and sharing to those who are less privileged. Aside from the pandemic, we know that there are a series of typhoons that have impacted on everyone. And I think that as I said, we as frontliners, although we ourselves might have been affected as well, need to extend a helping hand and a caring hand. So this afternoon's part of our series of training on mental health and psychological assistance will be of great help to us. So ako rin po natuto sa aking mga kasama dito na lahat po kami ay galing sa Miriam College, but we are quite involved in this program to help others in ways that na hindi lang siya financial, hindi lang siya what I call material, but more importantly in helping them to kind of cope with the kind of situation that we have now. Marami pong salamat at magandang hapon.
Thank you very much, Oi, for that warm welcome and for the explanation about the work of Dawn and for sharing the situation of our migrant workers and their families. So now, let's introduce two distinguished speakers, trainers. Mga suki na po natin ito, pero we want to introduce them again and again for their support to Dawn and our project with the British Embassy Manila. The first is Dr. Jerry Jurisprudencia, who is a practicing licensed clinical psychologist and a licensed guidance counselor. He is also an associate professor and a former chairperson of the Department of Psychology, Miriam College. As an educator, Dr. Je was a recipient of the President's Award for Teaching Excellence, the highest Miriam College Award in the tertiary level. He also received recognition from the Center for Educational Measurement and is a very sought-after resource person. Dr. Je was also a board of director of the Psychological Association of the Philippines for a couple of years. He obtained his PhD in clinical psychology from the Ateneo de Manila University and his Master of Science in guidance and counseling from the De La Salle University. He is an advocate for women and children, a proud father of 2 daughters, and an internal migrant. That's Dr. Je. The next speaker trainer is Dr. Maria Paz Manaligod. She is a certified developmental psychologist and a registered guidance counselor and psychologist. Currently, she teaches psychology and guidance courses at Miriam College. She served as department chairperson for the Graduate School of the College of Education of Miriam College from 2010 to 2020. She was a board member, an executive secretary, and treasurer of the Psychological Association of the Philippines from 2010 to 2016. She was vice president for academic affairs at the Colegio de San Lorenzo in Quezon City and also served as the vice president and a member of the board of trustees of the ADHD Society of the Philippines. She has published a book titled Educating Children with ADHD, The Philippine Experience. Dr. Paz received her doctoral degree in Child and Family Studies at the Miriam College, a Master's of Science in Educational Measurement and Evaluation at the De La Salle University, and her Master's of Arts degree in Guidance and Counseling. She holds a bachelor's degree in Psychology at the College of the Holy Spirit in Manila. So now let us call on Dr. Je for his presentation on managing yourself and COVID-19 stress. Dr. Je, please.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mel, for that generous introduction. Good afternoon, Ma'am Oyi, Sir Lance, and the participants coming from the different parts of the country, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, as well as participants from other countries. No? So I'm just to check, Ms. Mel, how is my connectivity? Is it clear? How is my connectivity? Am I coming in clear?
Clear po.
It's clear,
Okay.
but can you please make it louder, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Lance. So I'm so happy that we are all here once again, and we are simply continuing our training. So just to give a few points, this is the third training webinar for our migrant women workers who may be involved with other workers as well. And at the same time, this training will also prepare not only our local volunteers who are also involved with our own migrant women returnees, and at the same time, those volunteers who may be new to the area and may think of helping in the near future. But above all, I hope this webinar will also be helpful for our social work attachés and labor attachés in other countries who are very much into helping our migrant women workers. So before I will start, okay, may I call on Ms. Shane to please share the video?
si Marites Palma ng Social Justice for Migrant Workers. Ako na po ang humihingi ng tulong para sa mga kababayan ko dito sa Hong Kong na nag-positive ng COVID na nandun po ngayon sa ospital. Marami po silang nandun sa ospital. Depressed na po sila. Sa akin po sila lahat ng hingi ng tulong. Hindi ko na po kaya. Kaya sana po, parinig ng aking boses. Nabigyan naman sila ng atensyon. Kasi alam ko yung damdamin ng may sakit na nandito sa abroad. Sa kasalukuyan may sakit din po ako. Nagpapagaling pa lang. Pero ginagawa kong paraan ang lahat ng aking makakaya para matulungan ang mga kababayan natin ng quarantine na hindi nabibigyan ng sapat na pagkain ng kanilang mga amo. Pero yung mga naka-hospital na po, mga nag-positive na po, parang hindi po namin kayang lahat suportahan sila. Kasi iilan lang po kaming mga nagpipigay. Kaya na po, ang gobyerno po natin ang gumawa ng paraan para sila'y matulungan. Awang-awa po ako sa kanila. Ramdam ko ang hirap ang kanilang pinagdadaanan. Kaya sana bigyan po natin sila ng atensyon. Hindi ko na po kaya ito. Humihinga po ko ng tulong sa OWA. Pero hanggang ang sinasabi, sabihin lang sa agency. Ang agency, hindi naman sila nabibigyan ng gustong suporta. Kaya sana magawa nito ng paraan. Hindi ko na po kaya. Ako na po humingi ng tulong. Hindi ko na po kaya ito. Para pa ito sa ating mga kababayan, hindi po para sa aking sarili. Para sa mga kababayan natin na napauwi na dahil nag-positive sila ng COVID. At yung mga nasa hospital ngayon. Sana po mabigyan po ng aksyon.
Thank you for that, Ms. Shane, for the sharing. This video was posted in Facebook in the first week of October this year. Okay, and I hope that the concerns brought by our fellow Filipino who happened to work in Hong Kong was addressed together with the other concerns of the women migrant workers. Now, why is this very important, and why did I use this particular video? Okay, first, because we are on training, and this is exactly what a volunteer or a labor officer or attaché will be faced with, or our fellow migrant women workers in destination countries may be faced with if their colleagues are infected by COVID-19. So this is something very serious. And if ever, so we have several concerns here, whether our labor attachés or officers are able to address these concerns, and also the concern of those who perhaps are thinking of doing service, no? The support service providers. So this is very important. And this is exactly what will happen if you are not prepared. If you face yourself in a situation and in assisting or in helping, you yourself will also be overwhelmed. And if you have no resilience or resources, inner resources to fall back onto, you may also be overwhelmed. Okay? Next slide, please, Ms. Shane. So, just to remind ourselves once again, okay? So what is the formula of stress? Okay. The formula of stress is pressure is greater than resources equals to stress. So if the pressures that build up are greater than the ability of the person, okay, to bounce back, then he or she will truly experience what we call distress, okay? But if your inner resources are greater than the pressure, then it will not be equal to stress, okay? So it can be P greater than R equals S, or R is greater than P is not equal to stress, okay? So just to make some formula for you to understand so that you will be able to handle your stress properly. Next slide, please. So what are the 4 types of stress? Okay, for all you know, you may be in the first. For others, they might be in the second. For others, they may be nearing getting burned, and others may be experiencing what we call vicarial traumatization. Okay, so what are the differences of these 4 types of stress? Now, basic stress is simply what we normally face in our day-to-day life. Like, for example, in your work, no? So going to work, getting transportation from your place to the area of work may be stressful, especially if you are here in the home country. No? We have very few transportation to bring you to your work of, place, and even coming back. Now, this is also experienced by our migrant women workers in destination countries. Although they may be in the places of their employers, they also will experience what we call basic stress of waking up early in the morning, doing their chores can be very stressful. Okay. Now, stresses can go to the next, and it becomes what we call cumulative stress. Next slide, please, Michelle. Now, what is cumulative stress? So it can be a combination of different other pressures that will add up to your stress. So it will compound, it will increase. No? So for example, you are thinking of your loved ones back home here in the Philippines, and you are there in the destination country. You have your relationship stress with your fellow workers. You may also have your added stress when you know for a fact that you have nothing to send back home in the country. Or you have a compounded stress if your relationship with the employer and his or her family may not be healthy. So these accumulating stresses will add, no, to your basic stress. Okay, so your family, your loved ones, relationship, and you will experience the impact of this cumulative stress by either feeling the physical symptom or signs, like for example, getting frequent headaches, which you normally don't have. You may have frequent stomach aches, or your acidity is triggered, or you feel easily irritated, okay? Or sometimes you are working, but you cannot concentrate because your mind is not in your work. Or it can be back home, okay? So these are the physical signs of cumulative stress. Or you may not be able to sleep because you are worried, no? That you may also get COVID-19 and you don't have enough money to spare, like what happened to our kababayan in Hong Kong. No? See? So when they were infected by COVID, they were kicked out by their employers. And not only were they kicked out, nobody were there to watch for them except for their fellow kababayan. And even their fellow kababayan had also to take care of herself and also to take care of her work. And she cannot simply stay there and take care of them. So these are what we call compounded cumulative stresses. Okay, and this may also threaten or compromise your emotional and physical well-being. Next slide, please. So these cumulative stresses can be highlighted, no? A gradual increase, okay, from the early warning signs of easily getting exhausted to failing to concentrate. So nagpaplansya ka, nasunog yung kamay mo. You burn your hand because your mind is not in your work. No? Sometimes you didn't even know. Like for example, you are taking a bath. You didn't even know if you shampooed yourself or nagsabon ka because your mind is somewhere else. No? So concentration is poor. And for those who may be traveling, sometimes they miss their workplaces, or kung nagda-drive ka, you met an accident. Okay? And added to this, for some who may not be able to handle the stress as well, they may be tempted to resort to alcohol, no? Or drug use simply to enhance their work. No? So this is a fact that I talked to some drivers of buses here in the Philippines who are taking the route of La Union to Manila. They said because they are alone, they really have to take drugs, no? To make themselves alert so that they will not fall asleep. And you know for a fact that once you get hooked to drugs, that can be addicting. Now, if you are in a foreign country, that is even more dangerous, okay? Because you are not simply exposing yourself to getting imprisoned, you may also be risking yourself of getting arrested or losing your job, okay? So these are the gradual increasing signs of your stress. Next slide, please. So your accumulated stresses may also lead to burnout. No? So sa Tagalog pa, sunog na sunog ka. And we know what the consequence of our food getting burned. We know for a fact that if you eat a burned food, it will lead to cancer. And the same thing is true. If you are also burned out in your job, it will lead to what? Haphazard risk that will put your health in a more dangerous situation. Okay, perhaps you cannot anymore put certain boundaries when you just accept workload at the extent of not being able to really do something very significant. It will be minimalist because you just want to accept without even saying no or refusing because you are scared, because you want to impress, but you know for a fact that the consequence of that will not really be something that is helpful or productive. Now, what are the signs of you getting burned out? Okay, so this is not also new to our attaches in foreign countries. So this can be both happening to volunteers, to migrant women workers, to our social welfare attaches, and even to us, no? Who are involved in assisting and doing service support. So what are the signs that you may feel that you are entering burnout? No? So sometimes, as I have said, irritability is also one of them. Your energy is getting depleted. You want to work, but there seems to be no energy to sustain it. And the feeling is you feel chronic fatigue and emotionally numb in what you do. No? So next slide, please. What else do you feel when you are burned out? Then thoughts of hopelessness, thoughts of feeling sad, and then you begin to think pessimistic. You think that you will not be able to to make it, especially if your work now in the destination country is compromised. You are so embarrassed and ashamed to come home. So you know that you simply have to work harder. Your family back home is also feeling hopeless and helpless because they cannot help you. They cannot be to your assistance. And definitely, your effectivity is also compromised. Okay? So your employers will notice that you are not doing your work well, and it can also lead to what? Being laid off. Next slide, please. So what do you need to prevent this from happening? Okay? Because we want to be of assistance. We want to be of help. We want to be there, no? To help our fellow kababayans, whether volunteer or social welfare attaches, okay, and labor attache. First, you cannot but take good care of yourselves. Okay, this is very important. That's why our webinar for today is not simply to build your skills, but also to remind you that yes, it is okay to help. But if you get depleted, if you also become unproductive, then we may be doing more harm than good. We cannot give what we do not have. So if we want to sustain and maintain our assistance, we first of all have to take care of ourselves first by also taking care of our physical health. Second, look at the food that we consume. Okay, sometimes the tendency is we overeat or we don't eat anymore. No, so people who are stressed either lose appetite or they use that as their coping mechanism, which will ultimately lead to more health problems in the future. No? You become obese, or it will compromise your health, like your exposure to unhealthy food will also make you sick. And definitely, we cannot afford to miss sleeping. Okay? Yes, we want to help. Yes, we want sometimes to extend our working hours to 26 hours, but we only have 24 hours. And our body needs this as well. And time will come that your body will also demand. And what if you are driving and suddenly you simply fall asleep and you meet an accident? So we don't need dead social welfare attaches or labor attaches or service providers. We need healthy, living workers who will assist our kababayan. Okay? So it is not a sign of weakness that if ever you feel or you experience that you need help, okay, asking for help is actually a very important component of preventing burnout. Next slide, please. Now, after burnout, what will happen? As what the video showed us, people, especially the new ones who are new in giving service and support, may be traumatized too. No? So this is what we call secondary trauma or vicarial traumatization. Okay, so primary trauma is the event that was very overwhelming, experienced by the victim or by our women migrant workers. But even those who are assisting, those who are helping, simply by listening to the horror stories, to the unpleasant experiences of our migrant women returnees and workers, will also be traumatized. Okay? And so this is what we call secondary traumatization. You may not be in the destination country where the person you are talking to may have gone from, but by simply listening, you will also get overwhelmed. You may absorb all the negative energies coming from the person who was narrating her life story to you. That's why it is very important that you should be very aware of this. Okay? That helping is good, but you also have to buffer yourself. And so by simply listening to horror stories of others, you will also feel upset. You will also feel nauseated. You will also feel fatigued. Why? Because you are absorbing all these negative energies. Parang sponge tayo, di ba? Tingnan nyo ang sponge. No? If you're washing your dishes, they have to absorb water. And what happens? They become heavy. So if you want to continuously be productive, you have once in a while to squeeze water out of it so that you can bring in new soap, etc. So you cannot simply disregard this, okay, in the guise of helping, because this is very important in our work. To be aware, and prevention is better than cure. Next slide, please. So what do we expect? Okay, you have that desire to help, but if you are nearing burnout and you experience vicarial traumatization, then that will lead to compassion fatigue. That will mean that before you were so eager to help, then because of your depleted inner resources, because of your resources are getting thin, okay, then you might also compromise your ability. And as I have said, research have shown that these symptoms are very, very obvious among young professionals who are less experienced when it comes to adverse situations like calamities, like typhoons, and being in evacuation center, no? Like that woman, no? She was so eager to help, but simply listening to her fellow kababayan overwhelmed her too. Kaya for the ones who may have been in this work, they know already how to protect themselves. But for those who are new, okay, remember, our country alone is visited by typhoons no less than 30 times a year. Okay? And add to that other calamities too, like health calamity, like COVID. We didn't expect that. No? Like volcanoes, we didn't expect that. Our women migrant workers exposed to other countries, we didn't expect that they will be abused, they will be exploited. That for those, no, who are helping, this will be a trying time. No? Next slide, please. So we need to protect ourselves, okay? Because as I have said, we can either do more harm or we may expose others to harm too. Now, in what way do we expose them? By our actuation as service providers, okay? So there is a continuum to what we can do, okay, when we assist. No? So there is what you call under-involvement and over-involvement. So for some service providers, social welfare attaches, no? When they feel overwhelmed, so the tendency is they blame the system, they blame other people, they blame the victims, and what do? Then they will less involve themselves to others. They will not even be responsible anymore. They become cynical. Okay? They will avoid. Okay? They will even hide this under the rug. Okay? That is under involvement. Okay? So it will harm our work. It will also harm those who may really need our help. Or to the other extreme, over-involvement. We feel that we are the savior of our fellow kababayan. So we take all the work. We don't share it. We don't delegate it. No, I know for a fact, for example, the sharing of our social welfare attaches. No, they are assigned to one country, but the countries that cover, no, their job includes a bigger area. No, like for example, listening to somebody from Spain. No, so her work is not only taking care of women migrant workers in Spain, but also in France, but also, so imagine, in Spain alone, there are 2 million migrant workers. And include the other migrant workers in other countries. And there are only very few social welfare attaches. The same is also true in Berlin. The same is also true in Singapore. No, like last time, no, she said there were 200,000 migrant women in Singapore, and there were only 2 of them. So who will not be overwhelmed? No? So sometimes in your desire to help, no, some may even think that, oh, I am the savior of these people, or I will exaggerate my work. So they forget that that can be harmful as well. No? So it is very important that we have to find our balance. This is very critical. Next slide, please. So how do we look then? What is resilience? Okay, resilience is the ability of the person to recover, to protect herself from adverse situations. No? If you always expose yourself long term, okay, then it will also be detrimental. It is like your battery in your cell phone. If you're always using it without recharging your battery, sooner or later, the day will come that you will not be able to connect with others anymore. So you don't only compromise your ability to connect, you also compromise your ability to be of service to others. Okay. So what do we need? Next slide, please. Okay. So you have to find work and life balance. Okay. So this is what we will become for those who are overdoing their work. In the left picture, okay, these are the service workers who are already burned out, and someday we will just see ourselves falling in the ground. Okay, and we don't want that to happen. That is the reason why we have these webinars, we have this training, because we know we can protect ourselves. We know that we can be of assistance, and therefore we have to build our resilience. So from here, we have to go there. Okay? And what is the difference between the word here and there? The difference is the letter T. Time. See? Time is very important. It is a process. That's why you cannot just simply ignore it. So you have to take care of yourself. You are not a superman. You are not a superwoman. In as much as you want to help, you have your limitations too. And we simply have to recognize this. Okay? And that is not a sign of weakness at all. Next slide, please. So what is the formula? Once again, if we want to protect ourselves, if we want to be resilient, we have to remember the formula of resilience and inner resources. And what is this? Inner resources or resilience is equal to C plus PR plus CH, or control plus your ability to predict and your ability to change your perspective will lead to resilience and inner resource. Now, how do we put this into real time? Next slide, please. So once again, I want you to be reminded of the metaphor of resilience and self-care. No? It is the falling oxygen mask, no, in an airplane. If you want to be of assistance to people who are vulnerable, first, you have to apply the oxygen mask to yourself first before you apply it to others. So we cannot put that, no, in an understatement. We have to highlight this very important truth, no? The metaphor of self-care and resilience. Help yourself if we want to be of help to others. Next slide, please. And so how do we apply? So the first C, no? What are the things that are within your control? Okay? You are in control of your attitude. You are in control of your behavior. You are in control of your thoughts. Okay? What you cannot control is the environment. What you cannot control is how people may think. And so the way you balance your control will determine whether you will break or you will bend. If you allow external forces to overwhelm your ability to control, then expect a breaking point. But if you know how to control your thoughts, yes, others may be discouraged, but I will not allow this thing to influence the way I think. Okay? I know that there will always be hope. I know there will always be support that I can get from other people. So always bear that in mind. What is in your control? Next slide, please. Then, the ability to predict, predictability. Okay? Look at our Filipinos now here in the country because they throw away predictability. Okay? They don't care anymore about COVID-19. And we hear in the news the increasing number of cases rising. No? Look what happened to the United States because the president threw away science and simply, no, do their thing. Then you can expect that mental health will be compromised. That's why to predict that we will not get sick, we have to wear shields, masks, etc. And now the vaccination. In like manner, the same thing is true for our social welfare attaches. What can you predict? If you put your health at risk, then you can predict that you cannot be of assistance to others. If you put yourself at risk, then you can predict that your work will be compromised. If you put yourself at risk, then you know that you will also be infected. So it is important that you can predict, no, your behavior and so do something about it so that it will not be happening. No? Next slide, please. And therefore, the third element of inner resource is your ability to change perspective, to change your lens. Okay? First, you have to admit that asking help is not a sign of weakness. And therefore, you also need support. You also need, okay, other people. Okay? You are not an island. So by changing your perspective, then you can be more productive. Then you can be of assistance to others. Okay? Next slide, please. So at this point in time, I want to invite you to please get one piece of paper, a bond paper. If you are in the office, just to distract ourselves, okay? Perhaps the webinar may also be stressful, but this is a healthy stress for us because this is a training and strengthening our inner resource. But if you are driving, please don't do this, okay? Because this might endanger you, okay? Now, what we will do with the bond paper, okay? So you can get your a bond paper and a ball pen, okay? So first, you draw a small circle at the center of the bond paper, okay? So if you have one, okay? So it may not be, so you can use to some bond papers that you may have in the office perhaps. No? Okay. Now, after making a circle at the center of the bond paper or of a paper, okay, draw a second circle around the first circle. Okay. Now connect the third circle, okay, with the second circle by drawing an inverted triangle, no, all around. So i-connect mo ang second circle with the third circle, okay? I forgot, you connect the second circle with the first circle by putting a line all around as well. So first circle, then you draw a second circle, then you put a line all around, then you draw a third circle. This time you draw an inverted triangle with the tip of the triangle touching the second circle. Okay. So you fill up the spaces all around. Then, once you have done filling up, okay, the second and third, you draw a fourth circle around the third circle. Don't worry, don't be upset if your circle is not perfect. You may redo that later, okay? And draw a heart that will connect the fourth and the third circle. Okay, so the heart will fill up the spaces all around the third and the fourth circle. Now, if you have drawn a heart, you draw the fifth circle. Okay, make another circle around the fourth circle. So this time, how will you connect the fourth and the fifth? So you may choose whether to draw an oblong, a figure of an oblong, or a diamond that will fill out the spaces of the fourth and the fifth circle. Okay? Now look at your work, because if you have time, you may color this later. Okay? Now, what is this activity for? Okay? You may screenshot this if you have difficulty following those instructions. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Miss Shane, next slide, please. Now, what we did is exactly a technique to draw our mind from a stressful situation. And what we did is actually the figure of a mandala. My picture here is different from what I requested from you. But as I have said, it may also be similar. No? Okay. So if you feel stressed, no, there is another way to distract your mind, to make your mind relax. Okay. To reinvigorate yourself. No? If you don't have time to draw, perhaps you can buy, because there are some figures, and you may buy coloring materials and color the figure the way you see fit. Okay. Now, why is it a mandala? Because this is the circle of inner healing. Okay. So the Eastern tradition believe that to maintain our integrity, our wholeness. So this circle is a symbol of wholeness, well-being, okay, integrity, okay, and so that's why there is no gaps in between. But the way you experience your life may be colored by your choices. No? So that will be left to individual participants. How will you look at your inner mandala? How will you color it? How will it define you? How will it explain what you are going through? But doing this is actually a healing process. No? So to protect and preserve yourself, you can do this once in a while if you feel you are already feeling overwhelmed by stress. Okay? Or you may Google if you want to know more about the mandala. Okay? Because this is a healing symbol. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Now, because we are doing work, no? Mental health and psychosocial support, okay? The three important basic skills that each one of you, after taking good care of yourself, okay, that you need to be productive and be helpful are three. Active listening, flexibility, okay, and compassion. Okay. These are three important basic elements to sustain you if you really decide to help other people, especially in adverse situations. Okay. Without these three, you will have difficulty. If you have no active listening skill, okay, you might even do more harm. If you are rigid, no, if you are not flexible, you might simply what? Do more harm too. If you don't have that natural desire to put into action and be of assistance to others, your work will simply be not effective. So these are three important skills that later on will be enhanced by the next speaker. So active listening, flexibility, and compassion. Next slide, please. Okay. So what is active listening? So may I call on Ms. Shane to play the video.
Listening. We've all had the experience of trying to say something important to someone who is not really listening to us. They may have given this away by fidgeting or checking their phone. Think of the last time you had a conversation with a young person. Were you actively listening? Great. So you were present with the young person and showed them this by nodding, smiling, leaning forward and mirroring their body language. You also showed them you were interested by reflecting back, seeking clarification and summarising what they said. We can actively listen by showing young people the following non-verbal signs, such as eye contact, nodding and smiling, leaning forward, mirroring their body language. We can also show young people verbal signs by remembering what is said, reflecting, seeking clarification and summarising. Support is about connection and understanding, so actively listening is central to working with young people.
Thank you, Ms. Shane. Okay, so you
Active listening. We've all had the experience of
see
trying
the
to say
importance
something
of active listening. The problem with many service providers nowadays is they are present, but they are not truly present. No? So they are not present in the present because their mind is somewhere else. Okay, so they are absent in the present. Okay, so active listening means to be present in the present. Okay, some service providers are stuck in the past. Okay, other service providers are so worried of the future, so they don't live the present. That's why in active listening, in flexibility and compassion, you have to be present in the present. Next slide, please. Ms. Shane, next slide. So, what is the importance of mental health and psychosocial support? Okay, so we are not just simply listening actively, but we are also mindful of our feelings. And later on, you will see why we have to be mindful, because this is where compassion will flow. No? Okay, from simply listening, it will lead us to action and to be in the shoes of the other person. This is very important because we don't want to do more harm to the victims if we want to help them. Next slide, please. Okay. So I invite you again to listen to this video.
Empathy versus sympathy. They seem like they might be kind of similar. But actually they have a very different intention and a very different outcome. If we compare empathy versus sympathy, we realize that sympathy has this kind of distance and this separation because we don't want to get too involved. We don't actually want to be vulnerable ourselves. And when we actually use empathy, what we're doing is not just seeing through another person's glasses or stepping in their shoes, but we're actually standing with them, shoulder to shoulder, and we're looking at their experience and we're sharing that experience with them. There are three parts of empathy. We use this triangle to think about the balance between feelings, thoughts, and actions. And this same triangle applies to the three parts of empathy. There's a cognitive part, a thinking part, which has to do with imagining ourselves in that experience and looking at somebody and what they've done and saying, I can imagine what they might have been thinking, or I can imagine what this might be like for them. If we use that thinking part of empathy without the other parts, we slip into sympathy and we start saying, oh, this must be so hard for them, I feel sorry for them. And our feeling is not feeling with, our feeling is feeling above or feeling apart from. In the emotional part of empathy, we're actually forming a connection with somebody else, or we're co-creating that connection. We're stepping into the space of shared emotional connectedness. Now, the cognitive part of empathy is much easier to train. So often in workshops, people will talk about empathy and they'll really focus on this cognitive part of empathy, reading people's faces, reading people's body languages, trying to hear what it is that they're not exactly saying. These are all cognitive techniques. The emotional empathy, the affective empathy, is based in compassion. It's based in feeling that we are together with. And this feeling of together with comes from a very different intention and has a result of leading both people to change. When we step into the emotional part of empathy, what happens is we draw on our shared humanity. The final part of empathy is empathic action. And this is a place where we get into a lot of trouble because sometimes people think empathic action is fixing, we're solving, we're offering advice. And if you've ever been stuck and wanting empathy, you know that's not what you need. One of my colleagues, David Tubley, plays on the expression, don't just stand there, do something. Empathy is don't just do something, stand there. Empathic action is often standing with somebody and being with them. Now for me, that takes a level of bravery. It takes a level of vulnerability. Because when we really empathize, we step into the shared experience with somebody, and we might feel like we're going to drown or be overwhelmed. And that's why often people slip into this sympathy side of empathy versus sympathy, because they don't want to go there. They don't want to open themselves up to that experience. Here's the secret. When we really open our hearts and when we really connect with empathy, we both walk away lighter. We both walk away with some healing. We both walk away with some perspective. Empathy is not something we give to somebody or do to somebody. Sympathy is. Empathy is something we do together with. We step into this together with. And it affects both of us. And we both walk away feeling and knowing and acting in this more connected place. Now it's your turn. How could you step out of sympathy and into empathy?
Thank you, Ms. Shane. Okay. I hope you got the message that when we are in training, it's easy to say that we are developing empathy when in fact we are just simply in the level of cognitive empathy. Okay. MHPSS is not an easy thing. I tell you, we need to have not simply cognitive empathy, but really empathy that makes us feel that we are together with the person. Okay? So we learn, but to put that in practice is another thing. That's why in the early slides, we are from here to there. And we really have to put effort and time to be able to achieve this. Okay? So if we want to help, we have to really be serious about it, because we may not, for all you know, be helping at all if we are just simply slipping into cognitive empathy, because it will end up in sympathy. Next slide, please. So once again, as a service providers, we are not there by ourselves. We have to recognize the help of other people. We have to be together. It has to be a collective effort. No? Kasi pag ikaw lang mag-isa, if you are working alone, no? Kahit sa opisina lang, paperwork will pile up. Hindi mo pa nakausap yung tao. It will already be draining. No? But if you are with other people, then you can reach more people, you can be of service to others, and you even protect yourself. So self-care will also lead to team care. No? Wherever you are, whether you are in destination country as a social welfare attaché, or whether you are simply here in the country, no? Home country, we have to still be connected with other people. Okay, so we cannot isolate ourselves. No? It is very, very important to be with others. Next slide. Okay, so how do we get this to emphasize the importance of self-care? Okay, this is the last video. Ms. Shane.
I'm used to taking care of people who are struggling, but sometimes I feel like I can't do it anymore.
Some days are better than others. Today I felt anxious and nervous, and I couldn't stop thinking about my patient's suffering.
Am I even making a difference? After what he went through, I don't know if I can help at all. Maybe I should find another line of work.
She was so distraught. I couldn't take away her pain. I was absolutely exhausted after seeing her.
These are the voices of compassion fatigue. It can happen to anyone, but the people who seem to be most at risk are those medical and mental health providers who care, day after day, for patients who are struggling with significant symptoms. Compassion fatigue is not burnout, and it is not simply overwork. It is defined as absorbing the patient's suffering through the experience of taking care of that person. As a provider, empathy might be your most valued skill. It is also the same trait that can make you vulnerable to the experiences of your patients. And you might find yourself suddenly feeling exhausted, frustrated, or sad. Thoughts and feelings might become overwhelming. Cognitive abilities can be impaired. And you might feel completely lost where you used to feel the most confident. Providers are especially vulnerable when they are busy in their clinics or hospital schedules and find themselves prioritizing their patients over their self-care and connection with others. Any provider who cares for people with trauma histories can be at risk for compassion fatigue. Providers can protect themselves and build resilience by keeping a few simple things in mind. Be with other professionals. Social support among colleagues is a protective factor for providers. It allows you to feel connected with peers, as well as seek consultation or supervision, or even just the chance to vent, in a professional and appropriate outlet. Isolation is a risk factor and a warning sign for compassion fatigue, and staying connected reduces its likelihood and severity. Choose optimism. An optimistic outlook is protective against compassion fatigue, as well as many stress-related health consequences. One exercise that promotes optimism is writing a gratitude log. Once a day, write down 3 things to be grateful for. It works. Make time for self-care. In a busy office, clinic, or hospital, you may only have 5 free minutes at a time. Use those minutes wisely to care for yourself. Everyone's favorite activities are different. You might feel best when you listen to music, journal, meditate for a few minutes, pray, or read. Any of these and others can protect you from the effects of difficult work. Compassion fatigue is a risk for any medical or mental health provider and affects the ability to provide outstanding care to your patients. Providers can be protected from the effects of this experience by putting a few simple practices in their day-to-day routines. The work is so important, and self-care is a priority. It's just good practice.
Thank you, Ms. Shane. So now we cannot but emphasize the importance that actually we are very rich in compassion, but of course our compassion can also have its limits if our self-care is compromised. Now at this point in time, let's have a wellness check. No? Okay, you may screenshot this, okay, and answer the questions. Remember, if you can still recall the definition of the World Health Organization of what mental health is, it covers different aspects. So there's physical, social health, emotional, spiritual, intellectual. Okay, so of course it didn't mention everything here, but these are the more important ones. So okay, so get your ball pen and your notebook. Okay, now make your own temporary survey regarding your own well-being in the 5 aspects. No? Using the 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Is this very unhealthy, somewhat unhealthy, somewhat healthy, or very healthy? At this point in time in your life, look at your physical health. Look at your social health. Look at your emotional health. How will you rate it honestly? So be true to yourself, because this is the only way by which you can protect other people. As I have said, we cannot give what we do not have. Okay? So rate yourself, okay? The different aspects of your well-being. Okay, and once you have done so, once again, as you have screenshot this, be mindful of the rating scale below. Rarely, if ever, sometimes, most of the time, and always. Because we will compare this later with the results of the actual survey compared to this initial survey that we made, no, for ourselves. Okay, so if you are done after screenshot, making a screenshot, okay, put a circle where you are at this point in time. Okay, if you have done so, we will now proceed to the next slide. Okay, now you also screenshot this. So this is the first aspect, physical health. Now using the rating scale, no, of the 1 to 3, 4 below, okay, how will you rate yourself? Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds. You don't have to stay long. Just be true. No? Don't have to linger. No? So how will you rate yourself? Okay, is this rarely true, very true, etc. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a circle. No? If I maintain a desirable weight, so how will you rate yourself? Okay, so I'll give you 30 seconds to answer the 10 items. You may start now. Miss Shane, can you please time?
Yes po.
Okay.
Time is up po.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So this is simply physical health. Next aspect, Michelle. Okay, now social health. Do exactly the same, using the same rating again. Okay, rate your social health. 30 seconds again, Miss Shane. Time starts now.
Okay po. Time's up po.
Okay, now let's go to the next slide. You may screenshot this again. Now, once more, use the same rating. Rate your emotional health. Okay, you are given 30 seconds. Starts now.
Time is up po.
Okay, so you may go back to that later because you have screenshot it. Now we will go to the next aspect, spiritual health. Once again, use the same rating. 30 seconds starts now.
Time is up po.
Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is the last aspect, intellectual health. So again, 10 items. Use the same rating. 30 seconds. Starts now.
Time is up po.
Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, Miss Shane. So this time, you add all your scores based on the different aspects. So here we have the ideal score for physical health. And what is your score? You put it at the right, no? And compare if your rating is close or the same or far from the ideal score that is expected. Okay. So you are given a minute for this to add all your ratings in all the different aspects. So 30 seconds, 60 seconds, Miss Shane, starts now. So rate every aspect, okay, from physical health, 10 items. Then you rate also social health. You add all your scores. Okay, the same with emotional health. You add all the ratings that you give yourself, etc., until intellectual health.
Time is up po.
Okay, next slide, Ms. Shane. So this time, you screenshot this again. Now you can interpret the meaning of your scores from physical, social, spiritual, intellectual. Okay, if your score is 35 to 40, then you have to congratulate yourself. You are very healthy in that aspect. Now observe, from the first rating you give to the rating that is the result of the items, now you can compare which of the items are compromised, which of your mental health is perhaps neglected. Okay? And you may go back to the items. What can you do about it to address, to balance it once again? Because that might compromise your overall well-being. Okay? You may also visit. There's the link there. If you want to go to the origin of the website of this scale, okay, you may also look on this, no? Okay, with the link that I provided. Okay. So next slide, please, Ms. Shane. So with that, I hope that now that we have a map of our own mental health and our ability to protect ourselves, I hope we are now in position to help others. No? We have to be mindful that we have to be present. We have to be protective of our own health and self-care, because prevention is better than cure. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something in the first part of our webinar today. Take it away, Ms. Shane.
Thank you very much, Dr. Je, for that very comprehensive and informative presentation. Let me now call on Dr. Paz for her presentation on helping skills for PFA. Dr. Paz, please.
Okay,
Share mo.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mela, and thank you so much also, Doc Je, no? That was very good, no? Like from your end to my end, because it's very important really that we know where we are at this point in time, so that we will be able to help our migrant women workers, or perhaps the migrant women returnees, or ourselves as well first, no? Before we will be able to help others. So like what Dr. Je did, we will also have some exercises as well. So just keep your pen and notes beside you as we go along with this second series of the webinar. So it was mentioned during the first part, no, what psychosocial first aid is, no? And I want to stress, no, on these 2 points when we talk about helping skills. So psychosocial first aid is there for number 4, perhaps to support adaptive coping, acknowledge coping efforts and strengths, and empower the survivors, no? It is, we use this to encourage the adults. It also works for children and families, no, that they have to take an active role in their own recovery. So all of us are also grieving right now. All of us, yung sinabi nga ni Dr. Je, perhaps are also have that compassion fatigue, no? So perhaps also listening to this webinar, you can also use, no, or practice some of the steps that we will be undertaking, and then you can also try it out to your clients, okay? And PFA is also there to provide information that may help survivors, okay, cope effectively with the psychological impact of disasters. So when we talk about disasters, no, we're talking about the storm, no, a physical disaster as well. So pandemic is part of it. We are in the Pacific Rim area. So every now and then, no, we would experience this. So we might as well, no, learn how to cope with these things. So this is from Clara Hill when we talk about the helping profession, no? It is one person assisting another person, no, in exploring feelings. What are your feelings? How do you feel? Okay, how do you feel today? How did you feel yesterday? How do you hope to feel in the future? Okay, gaining insight, no? Because sometimes when we are so stressed out, we are so full of problems, we cannot see clearly. So another person has to be there for us, no, to put things in perspective. So that eventually when we gain this insight, we can make changes, no, in our own life. Okay, so I need to change na kasi iba na ngayon. Iba na yung sitwasyon. And kailangan ko rin, no, magbago. So we have different facilitative aspects of helping, no. Helping can provide support and relief, no, for persons experiencing emotional pain, no. Like I said, all of us, we are all grieving at this point in time, no. The loss, it's global grieving, no, because of the pandemic, no? And if you look at it, then, no, we are in the different stages of grieving. Some are in denial, some are still angry, some are bargaining, no. So doon tayo sa iba-ibang what do you call this, stages of grieving, no. One aspect also of helping is it can help gain insight, no? Thus we can understand ourselves in new ways. Wow, hindi ko akalain, ano pala ako? Matyaga pala ako. Wow, nakaya ko pala to. So maybe at now, no, we are seeing things, no, about ourselves that we didn't know we had. Some characters there, no, some characteristics, no, na parang hindi ko akalain na nagawa ko pala ito. So this is also a new discovery for us, no? It can also assist persons with their present concerns. Yung sinabi nga ni Dr. Jedin kanina, we always move forward, no? Yeah, the past is there, but sometimes the past is gone, no? We have to look at the present moment, be mindful of the present moment so that we can move forward, okay? And we can learn skills, no, needed to live more effectively, so that the client can also reach their own potential. So we help them, we facilitate this, okay? And it assists persons in making decisions about the directions in their lives. So when we look at being a counselor or being in the helping profession, we don't tell them what to do, no? We give them options, but in the end, dapat sila pa rin ang mag-decide for themselves so that when they make their own decision, then there is that accountability on their part because they said, it was my decision, pinag-isipan ko mabuti ito. hindi ito yung parang sinabi kasi ni ma'am na ganito, sinabi kasi ni sir na ganito, and sometimes we may end up blaming others. So it's very important that when we help, we give that person leeway because we believe that they can also decide on their own. Okay? So the components needed for effective helping, of course, yung nakita natin, our helping skills. That's why we go through training, every now and then, nagte-training tayo, and we have a big number now. It just shows your interest, in wanting to help people in your own area, And we are also looking at some of the facilitative conditions. Now, what are these conditions? The mere fact that you're attending this training is already facilitates you, to do better, to be empowered, maybe some facilitative conditions also is you have time to do counseling, to be of help. You have a place where counseling can be done, You have a schedule, okay? You have perhaps a team to help you as well, okay? And another one is also the self-awareness. So it was good that a while ago you were also given, sa mental health ko ba, or am I here? Because it can be that you're 20 in emotion, perhaps, pero in spiritual, you're 38, maybe in physical, you're 15, something like that, Because then you look at it and say, hey, kailangan balance lahat ito. Maybe I work on this now because okay na ako dito. So that's being self-aware, Because being self-aware would mean that yes, I can help others, Or no, I need a break muna, diba? Stress ako ngayon, maybe break muna ako ng 1 week before I can help other people. So that's very important that we know. Or else may domino effect yan Kung stress out ka, without you knowing it, naibibigay mo yung stress mo sa kliyente mo. And we also see this happening in our families, okay? So maybe one aspect also, this was also in the YouTube video a while ago, we call this the Egan-Soler theory. You just have to remember the word soler, So that when you are doing counseling or you're talking to that person, sometimes I also call this talk therapy. Parang kwentuhan lang tayo, It's very important that you face the person squarely, kaya S, face squarely. You look at each other, okay, like this. Your posture is open, So we avoid doing like this kasi parang nagagalit ka or doing like this. So it's always an open stance, We don't look at it sideways, but okay, come on, let's talk about it. Okay. If it's also possible in your own place, if there's another corner there without the table, or maybe kasi kung minsan pag may office table, parang meron pa rin like you're the boss, I'm here. So usually in some offices may isang corner also for coffee or something like that so that it's more casual, So that can also be an instance for an open posture, a welcoming effects. Okay, dito tayo mag-usap if you think that the person is coming to you on a more personal note, okay? So very important then to show interest, you lean forward, Okay, ano 'yon? Anong pwede natin pag-usapan? What is it that you want to tell me? Let's talk about it, okay? Eye contact is very important. Okay, so it's not really like staring, diba? Or else you will not also feel comfortable. But every now and then you should make eye contact so that the other person will know that you are listening. Okay, and the stance here is you should be relaxed, Kasi kung tense ka rin, ano namang problema mo? Siyempre, the other person also feel, I think I should not say this kasi medyo stress out o hindi relax, si ma'am or si sir. So very important that you are also in a relaxed state so that the other person also can be more open to the concern. So I want to share with you, one counseling technique or a helping skill that will help, We call this the solution focused, therapy, So I found this very helpful in my own practice because personally also I'm more of the positivist, I want more to empower the other person, okay? So for me, what works is really focusing, no, on solving the problem. So this is by a husband and wife team, no, si Seisher and Inso Kimberg, no, when they talked about solution-focused therapy. Others call it also solution-focused brief therapy because, again, maybe one talk session, okay na. And that is what we want from our clients, no? We know it was mentioned, sinabi rin na parang you're only 2 and you have like 20,000 clients or 500 or 300. And you cannot talk to all of them if you spend so much time with one person. So the mindset here is people can solve their own problems. Sometimes lang, they're so stressed out that they don't see it. So we are there to help and tell them, hey, we can find a solution. Okay, so how is it different when we look at it, no? So, for example, you don't say like, how can I help you? Kasi it means to say weak ka na or something like that. No? So a change of mindset, how will you know that when you come to see me now, no, that something will be helpful? Okay, so you're already giving that hint that yes, when we talk about it, something will be done. So we don't also say, it's also different, problem focus. Could you tell me about the problem? So we try to change that kind of mindset. What would you like to change? Diba? So when they talk about it, of course, what they would really also want to change is the negative thing that's happening in their life. So it's changing paradigms, no? So when we also look at, is the problem a symptom of an underlying issue? So sinasabi na natin na parang, ay nako, the problem comes from this, nagsanga-sanga na, no? So what we're trying to say, let's try to dig deeper to discover the solutions to these problems. Okay? So it's like a discovering, no? So parang mas positive yung effect kasi let's discover what is it. And we look into, can we discover exceptions to the problem? Kasi sometimes when a person will come, they'll say, ay nako, lahat na lang, everyday na lang, everyday may problema ako, everyday. So, di ba, sometimes when we're so stressed out, we tend to exaggerate, no? We don't see the positive side. So when they say this, they say, can you think, no, of a day na hindi naman nangyari to? Then suddenly they will think, oo nga pala, hindi pala nangyari ito kahapon o hindi pala nangyari the other day pero nangyari na naman ito. But you are there to tell them, but it's not always. You're always using the term always palagi, pero may mga exceptions naman. Ano yung mga exceptions na yon? So that's where you focus on. Okay? And you're focusing on what the future will look like and not of the past. Because the future, you can more or less predict, control in a way, but the past, nangyari na, mahirap na. Okay? And we're looking at the strengths, no? Ano yung kakayanan, no, ng kliyente mo na gawin. So we're not saying that they're hopeless, that they need all the help that we give them, or else ma-compassion fatigue na tayo, di ba? Or else we overextend ourselves, but we also have to get from them. How can they help themselves? That's very important, no? How can we empower them? Because the more that they can help themselves, the more also that we can help other people. Okay? So we're not also talking about how many sessions ito. Naku, baka 1 month na naman ito, nadedeli ng mga iba. But here, no, if you see that the person is okay about it and feeling more confident and saying, I think I can do this, may mga assignments din kasi yan, no? So that would be good. So that every now and then, it would only be like a check-up, a checking in on them, no? So that's the paradigm when we look at solution-focused, okay? So when we look at solution-focused brief therapy, no, it is committed to finding realistic, workable solutions for the client. So again, always from their perspective, as quickly as possible. So the efficacy of this treatment has influenced, no? It's spread around the world and is used in multiple contexts. No? Ang dami nang gumagamit nito because you don't also need like parang a whole training for this because it's really more of a talk therapy. Okay, what can I do for you? What are the things that you can do? Let's look at it from a strengths-based perspective. So the belief of the counselor, no, or your belief is that the person is capable, no, of helping himself. Yun nga lang ngayon, medyo stressed out siya, medyo problematic, no, kailangan ng konting assistance. And this type of therapy has been successfully applied, no, for individuals, for couples, no, for family, okay, even for children, no, and it can address, no, a wide-ranging symptom, no, from the normal stressors in life to high-impact life events, no, yung nangyari ng COVID, wala ng trabaho, etc. So it's like, again, helping them change their mindset and where they are at this point in time so that they can move forward. This just doesn't work for those really with has already mental health issues, no? So it's not really recommended sa extreme depression, may schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. So we're looking into, no, some stressors in life, no, that may be high impact, but we're again looking at the resilience, no, of people and their ability to bounce back. That's why we have this solution-focused brief therapy. So these are some questions or examples that we can ask, no? Techniques that we may use. Okay, so we look into building on success. So pag may pumunta sa'yo, we already know, no, that, I mean, the mere fact that this person came to us already, no, means to say that he or she is asking for help. At sinabi ka kanina, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. The mere fact na nakapunta siya, that's already a success, no? So we're looking into strategies to help people focus on what they're doing well, what has helped you already, no? Than on what's going wrong. So we're looking at solutions, we're not looking at problems, no? So dito, we use a lot of compliments. Oh, what made you come here? Buti you were able to come here. Very good. At least we get to meet each other. At least we're able to share what is happening. Okay. So these compliments, no, this praise that we give them empowers them, no, and it can help the client, no, to begin to focus, no, on what is working in their life, no, rather than what is not. You see, at least you came here now to ask for help, no. So that's already a success on their part, no. You came here now so that we can talk about it. Now you're able to open up. So we acknowledge that the client has an impact, no, toward a goal, no, and it allows him to hope, no, and allows him to become present, mindful of what is happening, no. Once hope is there, and because there's hope, nag-change yung perspective. Oo nga pala, pwede ko rin palang gawin ito. Yeah, oo, tama nga ma'am, yeah, tama nga sir, okay? The client can decide already on an everyday basis what are the steps, no, that they can take to attain their goal. So Seligman of positive psych says, no, that if we give them this hope and optimism, no, we can have these desirable outcomes, no? They can achieve in different areas, okay? So now they're empowering themselves. Now they see it's not pala frustrating, no? It was frustrating at first, but now I see the light, no? I see hope. I see that things can be done, okay? So it frees you also from anxiety and depression, no? Because now you're looking forward, no? Na I'm not as anxious as I was last week, mga ganon, no? So it starts you again meeting people, talking with other people, diba? Seeking support, no? And it helps you in terms of your physical well-being. You might sleep better because na-lessen na yung anxiety mo, okay? You might eat better, have a better appetite now. You might not be sluggish also or fatigued because you have hope and optimism. Another thing that would help, no, you build on success and you also look into exception finding. Okay, this is again very important because, like I said, if a person is under stress, if a person is depressed, they don't see the good side. So, pag solution focus, we show them there is hope. You don't see it, but I will help you see it. Okay, so asking when a problem or difficulty happens less intensely. Okay, so So perhaps when they are so frustrated, we ask them, talk about the good things in your life. When were things better? Okay. What were you doing differently that it became better? So siguro then the person might say, siguro that time na tinawanan ko na lang, hindi na ako nagmukmok, hindi ako nagtantrum, I felt better about it. Diba? So sometimes we can tell them, okay, so maybe next time when that happened, wag ka na din magbukbok because now you're seeing that it gives you a negative effect. No? So we're looking into exceptions. We're looking already, we're helping the client look into certain things that they might not have seen, no? Because they were always looking at it negatively, no? So we can tell them also, okay, tell me about the times when you don't get angry. Tell me about the times when you're not frustrated. So pwedeng sabihin ng kliyente, pag nagli-listen ako ng music, then I feel calm. So you tell them, okay, so maybe when you feel this, listen to music again. Jog, dance, sing. Okay, so we look at those things that are already there that your client have missed out. Okay, so again, you can also look into, was there ever a time when you felt happy in your relationship? So maybe this could be a couple saying that wala na talagang whenever I see him, whenever I see her, nagpapalpitate na ako, talagang the relationship is a goner, di ba? So say, okay, but what are the times, maybe even now na hindi ka naman palagi nagpapalpitate, there might be a day or two, di ba? So pwedeng magkwento. Maybe yung time na kung minsan tinentemplahan niya ako ng kape, kung minsan caring naman siya. So you see, the person says, oo nga pala, hindi naman pala palagi. So that's what we want, no? To find from that person. Exception finding, okay? And we also look at it future, no? Kasi if we look at the future, there's hope, no? Kaya nga like I said, that's why siguro people like growing plants in their home, etc. Because there's life, there's growth, no? So it means it means visualizing life, no, without the problem, and can lead to setting relevant and meaningful goals, no? So parang we say, okay, if the problem is gone, what do you think will happen? So they see na, okay, so there's a possibility pala na hindi forever itong problema ko, no? Because they're able to visualize it. So usually we use the miracle question. That's how they call it, no? Like, suppose you wake up one day and the problem is gone. What will you be doing differently? Diba? So maybe I will be singing and singing. Siguro I will be excited about work. Diba? So how will others know that wala na yung problem? Maybe they will talk to me, maybe they will invite me out kasi hindi na ako si masungit, something like that, no? What will you hear from others? Maybe people will tell me, wow, you're smiling today. You see, you look better when you smile. So these are the things, no, that we would want them to visualize, okay? So let's try to do this, okay? This was the question that Safer, no, asked, no, the miracle question. So listen to the question, and maybe you will have a worksheet later. Okay, so now I want to ask you a strange question. Okay, suppose that while you were sleeping tonight and the entire house is quiet, a miracle happens. No, the miracle is that the problem which brought you here is solved. However, because you are sleeping, you don't know that the miracle has happened. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, what will be different? That will tell you that a miracle has happened and the problem which brought you here is solved. Okay? So maybe in your paper, no, can you answer these things? Shane, maybe 1 minute. I'm sorry that we have to rush, no? This will not really be 1 minute when you do it in real time with your client, no? But maybe for us just to have an experience, okay? Thank you, Shane. So after answering that question, you write on your paper, no? You may draw or you may write what your miracle looks like, okay? Maybe you're already riding on the airplane, coming home, diba? Maybe meron kayong letter been accepted to work, di ba? So this also helps, no? In terms of art therapy, especially also for children when they don't verbalize much, or maybe for adults, no? Relaxing din kasi ang mag-draw, no? And it's very also important that when you ask, no, oh, who is supporting you? Kaya nga sinasabi, no, that we ask help from others. That's important, no? Who is there supporting you? You cannot really also do it alone. Okay, so you try also to look at that, no? And wonder also, as you draw, as you think about it, you put in as many details as possible, no? Or as many words, pwedeng bullet points doon, no? And also what you will do, no? And how you've contributed to it. So don't be, how will I say it? Don't say na baka hindi ko gawin ito, baka hindi, etc. So don't let that control you. Just continue in your drawing, in your writing, just let it flow. That's very important.
Dr. Paz, 1 minute. Time's up na po.
Okay. So this is not ideal, but at least we're just practicing, no? How to go about it. So you can work on this, your miracle worksheet, which is future focused, no? There's hope there, no? Or you can also look into a solution mind mapping, no? So maybe yung drawing ng miracle ninyo is at the center, right? And then from the center, no, you can do it first yourself, no? So you can, or you can tell your client later on, no? Create branches, no, of solutions. So that's the miracle. Ano kaya pwedeng mangyari, gawin ko so that this miracle will happen, okay? So here, by exploring solutions or options, no, a client will self-generate and be more connected to the outcome. So now they can see, oh nga pala, pwede din kong gawin ito. Oh, may mga talent naman ako kahit wala akong trabaho. I know I have a knack for business. I know when I was in college or high school, masarap daw yung linuluto kong, what do you call this? Kakanin. So maybe that's something that I can work on. And meron pa pala akong konting ipon sa bank, something like that, no? And I think this could help. So now the person is able to see and look at it. You're not the one giving the solution. It came from the person himself or herself. Okay? Another way of looking at it also is doing scaling. Okay? It's an assessment. It's a way of ascertaining the person's perception of him or herself and the problem at present. Okay, so this helps identify what's going well and to focus on on where the person wants to get by moving one point on the scale. So for example, you have an assessment. Okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, which 0 yung pinakamababa, 10 ang pinakataas in terms of how frustrated you are at this point in time sa angka. Diba? So pag sinabi siguro ng kliyente, 3 ako. Oh, why do you say that you're in 3? Okay? So, okay, 3 ka ngayon. What will you do so that you reach 5? Parang ganon, di ba? So we're already doing that. Siguro I'll be 5 pag ganito na mangyari. Okay? So when they also say 3, we don't also say na mababa yan. We don't say that. So wow, that's 3, di ba? How come 3 ang sinabi mo at hindi 0? So that's already a stress. That's already something, no? Na they're not at the lowest. Now, pag sinabi naman 0, okay, so why do you think you're in a 0? So you also say at least, di ba? That's not a negative or something, but what will get you to go to 1? So we're looking at it little steps, no? So that we don't also overwhelm them, but we're trying to point out here that yes, there are things that we can do. And in scaling, we can also have an assessment, no, of how the person, no, is looking at his or her concern at the present moment. Okay, so you can use this also as a drawing. Maybe you can also try it with you in the ladder, no? Just imagine you have your own ladder scale there, no, and your own stress at the present. or your own problem at the present, maybe focus on the problem that you have right now, no? Where are you, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is far away from your goal and 10 means you have reached where you like to be, where are you at the ladder? How will you know that you have climbed the next step? So these are things, no, that the person can reflect on. The person will have goals, steps to make. This is also very good for children. No? If they can verbalize, we can have a drawing na pangbata. Saan ka ngayon dito? No? How frustrated are you? How angry are you? Anong number? Diba? So you will also have that kind of assessment. And you can come up with other drawings. It could be a ladder, ano pa. It could be, ano ba to? A glass. And they can look at it, a glass half full or half glass full or half empty, or you can put lines there. No? Hanggang saan yung tolerance level mo na ngayon from 1 to 10. So you can use this figures, no, to help get your point across. Okay, and you can also look at a scaling questions worksheet. You can also take a picture of these things, and you can also think in your mind, no, like when I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 representing the best and 1 is the worst. Where would you say you are today? So maybe we can count, okay, from the time na nag-umpisa yung pandemic, up to this point in time, saan ka na ngayon? Okay? Then they would see, dati-rati, 3 ako, now I think I'm an 8, na-accept ko na yung nangyari, hindi na ako nagbabargain, I'm already, what's the next step kasi from acceptance is oh my God, finding meaning. Now I'm trying to find meaning on these things, etc. So, nakikita na rin, no? So, or it could be, where would you say you were a day or 2 ago? And where are you now? So, maybe this could have been when pumunta, what do you call it, the 3rd session with you, etc. So, you're seeing the progress, okay? So, you're also looking at, how would you know if you moved up on the scale? How would you know that things are better? Okay, what do you need to do so that things will be better? So that from 4 you will go to a 6. So they say, so again, the accountability is with them, right? The action is with them, and they have to work on this goal. So here again, you're believing in them, no? You're empowering them, and you're giving them that confidence that yes, they are resilient, and yes, they will be able to work, no, on their own concerns, because you're there helping and assisting them. Okay, so these are the things, no? What have you learned about yourself from the previous experiences? So maybe I overthink too much, so now I already know how to prioritize so that I don't get overwhelmed. Okay, so that I don't also have compassion fatigue and all of those things. So these are things that you can also talk about. These are also things that you can talk about as a team, no? Helping one another. Okay. So when we look at this also, we can also have the solution-focused art therapy or letter writing. No? These are powerful in-session tasks, no? Where you request a client to draw or write about one of the following, no, as part of their art therapy, no, a picture of that miracle, so that when they see the picture, it becomes more real. Lalo na if they also put it beside their bed or in the mirror when they wake up early, it could be something that empowers them to move forward, kasi they see na this will happen soon. I just have to believe in it, and I just have to believe in myself. Okay. Or it could also be something, now this is again strengths-based in positive psychology, no? Something that the client does well. So we have to look into their own island of competence, no? We have to see that they're capable of helping themselves because they have all these positive character traits. We also have to look into, tell me about a day that went well, lalo na if they cannot think about parang sa kanila, their life has been so frustrating. It has been all problems. I'm sure there was a day when everything went well, so they can think about it, no? When was that time, no? What was different about the day? Or they can also look into the special person in their life, that person who gives them hope, that person who makes them feel alive, no? That person who makes them, no, strive to do better. So we look at all these possible strengths for them. So like I said, the strengths finders, no, focus on when they felt strongest. So we're looking also here at their peak moments, perhaps when they felt good, because maybe at this moment all of them are frustrated, all of them think that they cannot do anything, but there was a time in their life when they thought they had it all, when they thought they can do everything. So we want to get back that feeling, no? So that they will be they will feel alive again, and they will feel that, oh nga pala, kaya ko. I was this person before. I was a champion before. I know I have that in me. So I cannot be this person now, no? I'm stronger than who I am now. So I have to get back those characteristics that I had before, okay? The strengths that are already inside them, but because of all these negative feelings, nasapawan. Okay, so a variation of this task is also to have the client as people, no, who are important in their lives, and tell them how they view the client's strengths. So very important din, no, that they seek people, no, collecting strengths, because collection of strengths gives us the positive vibes that we need, no. Can be very illuminating and helpful in bringing a client into a strength perspective, you know. Personally, that's why for me, I love celebrating birthdays, no? Because parang it's that one day in a year, no, that you're able to collect all these positive vibes from all people who loves you, because they greet you, they tell you this, etc. And that will be okay for me for another year. Diba? So parang yan na uli yung shield mo eh. Kaya it's nice to celebrate birthdays, because then it's your special day where people validate you. Good again for your another birthday. Diba? That's why I make sure, no, that I greet people who would celebrate their birthday. So happy birthday for lahat ng may November birthday. A special call to lads, okay? So these are things that would help us. Or we can also look at experiment journals, no? So maybe journal writing, and then sabihin natin, okay, you try to do this. What will happen? Did it work? So we're trying to say, okay, try mo kung if this will be good for you. So they write it down, it has worked. Siguro yung rating ko dito, 8, it works. Pero the best thing that works for me, perhaps, is listening to music. That's a 10 for me. So it's always try out, no? You try if this will work for you, okay? And if it works, then do it again. If it doesn't work that much, maybe try a different approach, no? So you reassure the client that whatever you try now will not always be perfect, diba? There might be a better way of doing it, but the important thing is you're able to try it out and experiment what would work best for you. Okay, we call that the experiment journals, no? So when we look at the solution of focus brief therapy, no, we're looking at, when we talk about it, we're not talking about, let's talk about your problem. Negative na yun kaagad, no? So we look at it like, let's just talk about it. Huwag na natin i-label na problema, etc. What is it that concerns you? Diba? Bakit kaya ganito? So we're not really saying, no, that's a problem, no? Because now we're also looking at miracle questions. Okay, kung wala na itong problema, what do you think will happen? No? Just think about these possibilities. These possibilities, again, no, would give the person hope and optimism. And we also have to remember, no, that when the person thinks always negative, may mga exception questions, no? We have to remind them that there are always times, no, when that identified problem is less intense than we thought it would be. Okay? So that they know, exage rin pala. Hindi naman pala ganito palagi, no? There's also something good that comes from it. Okay. It reminds me again, no? I get so frustrated with all these things about the elections in America when it's supposed to be a democratic country. But I always get hope, no? When exceptions done, when I look at the Biden camp, na they're very calm, they're just waiting, and this other camp is like nagtatantrum na. So I say it's not bad after all, because it's still democracy working. When they say that let's still have a third count, even if it's so frustrating, we still see, no, that something good is still happening, okay? And we're also looking at coping questions, no? Like maybe we try to elicit information about the other resources that the client may have that he has not noticed, di ba? O yung isa mong friend, yung kasama mo sa bahay, baka matulungan ka rin niya. O nahihiya rin kasi akong magtanong sa kanya. O baka you didn't ask, but maybe he or she would be willing to help you. So these are things that we help the person, no, to gain insight. And maganda rin, we have the scaling questions, no? Assessment to see where are you at this point in time. When do you want to get there? Okay, what will help you not go down the ladder more? So that's very important. Importante rin yung time out, no? That there's also a time that quiet lang yung kliyente and you na no need to talk, because maybe that's the time that you're reflecting. That's why sometimes pag time out, the client will say, okay, you try it out. Anong gagawin mo for this week? Ma'am, ganito, sir, ganito. Okay, try it out. So you don't know na. Then when you come back, let's see what has worked. So those are also the time out, which is also connected to your task, no? What are the things that you have to do? So another important aspect also is giving the praise, empowering the other person, telling the person that, you know, you're capable of doing it. I believe in you. That's very important, empowering that person, no? That's why you would say, okay, let's try this out. You're telling me that this has worked for you before. I-try mo ngang gawin yung ganitong conversation when you talk to your friend or husband or whoever that person that's giving you problems, and see if it will work. So anong gagawin natin for next week? So you have, parang may assignment din, di ba? And then when you come back, you try to review and try to see if it's working. So these are things, no, that would help. So pag tinitingnan ninyo the solution-focused brief therapy, it's very workable, no? We just need practice to do it, but it's more of a conversational thing. And the good thing here really is yung kliyente natin, no, will be really doing the work. We are there to help and assist, okay? So as we move on, no, so maybe these two persons said, no, problem talk creates problems, but when we talk about solution, no, then we create solution. Okay, that was by Safer, and the wife also said that's a way to see it, and there's also another way to see it, no? So maybe this person looks at it as really a problem, but maybe you as the counselor, the helpee, looks at it from a different perspective, looks at it from maybe a more objective way of solving the problem. So that's also what we show our client, okay? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so something that's doable. But once you know what works, do more of it. Okay, but if it's not working, then maybe you have to change your stance, you have to change your style, you have to do it in a different way. So that's the gist, no, of solution-focused brief therapy. So maybe as we move on, no, these are things that you can use for your references, no. As we move on, so maybe you can tell me something about your miracle question and the miracle drawing that you have. Maybe you would want to share it to the group, no, before we move on to our question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paz, for that very extensive and informative information and presentation. So now, before we go to the open forum, let's first have our group cloud chat. Can we request everyone to please put on their videos?
Andyan.
Oh, sige. Shane, please. Yung maganda, Shane, ha?
Okay po. Papa. Ay, 1, 2, 3. Smile. One more pa po. 1. Isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. Isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Last one po. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Yeah, thank you po.
Thank you. So kanina po, umabot tayo ng 60 plus. No? So very well attended ito at I'm sure maraming mga tanong. So habang inaayos na ang ating mga videos, we would like to recognize the, okay, mamaya na siguro to. Mukhang naiinip na yung birthday boy natin. We would like first to have our open forum, no? We would like to introduce our facilitator once more. Lance has been a long time volunteer supporter of Dawn since 2007. He assists in developing programs for women migrant returnees and members of their families. He also assists in SICHI, Dawn's Alternative Livelihood Program for Women, and the Dawn's Multipurpose Cooperative called Dawn MPC, where he is now a member of the board. Lance has been the coordinator of the Philippine Migrants' Rights Watch from 2007 to 2008 and from 2016 to the present. He develops programs for awareness of rights of OFWs and provide inputs for policy and legislations pertaining to the welfare of OFWs and members of their families. Also the editor of the Philippine Migrants' Rights Watch publications. And Lance is the president of Luzon of the Parliament of Youth Leaders from 2013 to the present. He's also the director for Manila projects of the Philippine-Australian Sports and Culture from 2019 to present. Lance is an AB Political Science graduate at the University of Santo Tomas, sorry. And then, of course, today is Lance's birthday. So happy birthday, Lance. So now let's have our open forum. Lance?
Thank you for your birthday greetings. And nagulat nga ako, binati rin ako ni Dr. Paz in between the lecture. So that's very
I thought
important.
it was this month. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, it's today. So tama lang yon. It brings joy to the person kapag binabate once a year. Diba? Well, thank you very much for the presentations of Doc J and Doc Paz regarding the need for providing help, especially at this time na marami talagang nanghihingi ng tulong, and how do we help if we need to help ourselves. Ang points na ni-raise dito is the need, in order to effectively help others, you have to help yourself, because that's very important. But before that, may I request na if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hands, and also, or there's a raise hand button there, or you may leave a chat so that I can acknowledge you. So if you have any questions or insights, especially ngayon, which is very important na ang situation ng mga welfare officers and social work attaches is that na yung ang daming mga cases, di ba? Marami natin kailangan tulungan. At the same time, there's always it's inevitable that we'll feel overwhelmed at this time. So yun yung talagang very frustrating from the end of those that we're willing to help. So we are willing to help, but it's very difficult sa dami ng mga tao. So I would like to hear from you guys about your experiences and what can you apply from what you've
Sa
learned
mga
here.
posts ka mo.
Yeah, especially dun sa mga post. Ayun. So may I hear from you guys? Anyone? Please feel free to leave a comment or raise your hand. Kasi nakikita ko ngayon sa chat, puro birthday greetings. So any questions or insights? Or sharing. Mas maganda sharing. Oh, positive. We have to be positive. Sharing of experiences. Yun pa isa pang point na in-raise dito is that we have to be positive and to provide and promote optimism in approaching these issues. So we would like to hear from you guys. Can I hear from the post? Please feel free to raise your hands. Let's see. Let's check the others. Sige. So habang wala pa na, magtatanong lang din po ako. Kasi di ba nga, it was discussed na there should be a balance of treating our migrants. Parang ang tinuro dito, there's a balance of how we provide therapy to our clients or the people that we want to help. We cannot be under treating or over treating, di ba? Parang treat moderately. So that's good. But then there's also this concern of having a balance in a way from how to help ourselves and how are we gonna be providing our help to our migrants. So how do we maintain that balance, knowing that especially sa current situation ng mga social work attachés and the welfare officers, how do we provide that balance knowing the current workload that they're facing? Do you have any quick tips for that one? So, actually, tinatanong ko yung si Doc Jet at si Doc Paz regarding that issue of how, if you have any quick tips dun sa ganong, how to maintain that balance despite the current situation.
Thank you, Sir Lance. Actually, I was hoping na you will ask how do our social work attachés balance themselves, no? Especially when it comes to not getting overwhelmed by so many clients to serve. Kasi it's really their experience, eh. But
Yes.
of course, if you ask me on my end, later perhaps you can ask them. Kasi siyempre, how do they maintain their sanity, for instance? And especially now that we have an aggravating situation, the COVID. No? Siguro una is you have to admit that you are not a superwoman or a superman. And therefore, you also need rest. Okay? So, in that perspective, you have to put a certain boundary. Okay, I can extend perhaps my work from 8 in the morning to 7 in the evening, but at most 8, unless there is an emergency, so that when you know also when there's regularity and you know that at this time I also have to take care of myself, then that protects you. Okay? Because remember, you also absorb the negative energies. Okay? And you have also to remember that if your kababayan had issue, you also had your issue. You have your personal issue. You also have your safety issue. You also have your issue na you're alone there in the country of destination. Your issue also that your family is here back home and are also facing COVID-19. So that time that you have for yourself, perhaps maybe time spent connecting with your family, checking them up, and how are the kids? Because there's also a time for me to report to my home office. If there is regularity, then at least you will know that you don't get overwhelmed. No? And you cannot always expect na I have to do this in one night's time, because that will be impossible. Okay? What perhaps you can do next day, then you can put that aside. Okay, I will only do this much because if I get sick, how can I help? So you defeat the purpose if you also overdo. Kaya yung kanina na yung continuum of under-involvement and over-involvement. Okay? Because if you don't know how to judge the situation, then you may be exposing yourself. And the best person to do that is yourself. Because you know also if you are getting stressed or getting overwhelmed. Okay. And the other scales will just simply help you. Like kanina, if you answered it and you rated yourself as, ay, mahina pala ako sa physical, ay overeating ako or undereating, kaya tuloy nagkasakit ako, then you can check yourself. No? Oh, so I think I had to redo my planning perhaps, or add something that I missed, or perhaps my spiritual life, I didn't really find time to reconnect also myself. So this is just simply a reminder, no? That you are not a superwoman, okay? And you can still do something about it. That's my take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you po.
Can I add something also to what Dr. Jess said? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so very important din dito talaga, like our insight and our reflection, that every now and then we have to spend time with ourselves and say, okay pa ba ako? Diba? Very important yan. Sometimes we forget, no? We forget giving ourselves a pause and thinking, am I still okay? Is this frustrating for me now? Should I need a break? And another thing also, people close to you, that's why we need them, no? If people close to you tell you na, iba ka na ngayon, you're so angry now, parang iba yung behaviors mo ngayon, then that's also something, no, that you have to be mindful of, because people close to you will always be honest with you and they will tell you the truth. Sometimes tayo, we deny that we're still okay. But if you hear this and it's not only from one person, then maybe this could also be a wake-up call. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Si Ma'am Mel would like to talk. Ma'am Mel?
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge, no, para sa discussion lang, the participants from the different posts overseas. So may representative tayo from OWA Greece, may SWAT tayo from Riyadh, OWA Italy, DSWD SWAT from Malaysia, from Hong Kong. Meron din tayo OWA Vancouver, OWA London, OWA Berlin, OWA Singapore. No? So we hope that you can share some of your experiences based on the lectures today. No? We're glad na you attended this training workshop, and we hope na malaking tulong din ito sa atin, no? Plus, of course, we have other participants from Miriam College, from NGOs like the Scalabrini Migration Center, yung Ople Center, plus marami pa pong iba, no? So I mentioned the names of the welfare officers or the posts and the social welfare attachés para alam din natin na they are really interested in attending this workshop, and if they can share their experiences. Thank you.
Oh, that's good to know. Kasi it's really important that we hear from them kasi sila nasa front lines. We also, lalo na yung kunyari, di ba sinasabi nyo, you had to have time, a certain time, unless emergency. But you know naman, pag nasa abroad, everything is an emergency. So anytime they would call. So that's really very difficult for them. And how do you face that? So minsan kahit weekday, you're in the middle of a weekend pala rather, nasa gitna ka ng family gathering, tapos bigla na may tatawag. So sometimes it's very mind-boggling, and dun sa mga ating mga frontliners doon from our ends abroad. So I would like to hear from them. Actually, may nag-post dito si Miss Caroline. I would like to call her so that she could give more of her share her thoughts regarding this one. Miss Caroline, please. Miss Mucha, Caroline Mucha.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Ma'am Nuki, and all the resource persons and sa aking mga kasama dyan. So I'm a member of the DSWD task group at the NAIA terminals. I'm a frontliner at the NAIA since June up to this time, second week of November. So this topic is very helpful to us. So may mga kasama ko dito na nandito rin po sa session na ito. So very challenging po yung aming nature of job at the airport. Kasi hindi lang po sa airport, kundi we have also a hotline numbers and email linked to the returning overseas Filipinos embedded already in the Philippine Red Cross. During registration pa lang ay pwede nilang sagutan lahat ng mga ROFs, although it's voluntary, to answer also the DAS, yung depression, anxiety, stress scale. So with that, the 21 questions patterned sa DOH, so those who are severe or with severe manifestations of depressions, anxiety, and stress, we refer that to the United Registered Social Workers for further counseling. And those who are manifesting also severe and extremely severe are also referred to DOH, NCMH, and we are also receiving, may mga kasama po ako na mahawak nun sa hotline, si Ma'am Catherine, wala siya dito ngayon, pero from PMB and some of my colleagues are also receiving some suicidal tendencies of our ROFs, most especially those who are at the quarantine facilities. Dahil may mga instances po kasi noon na ang tagal kasi ma-release yung results sa COVID-19 and they feel so depressed. And mostly sa sharing po ng aking mga kasamahan, ang mga calls po or mga suicidal tendencies comes at the middle of the night until early morning. So yun po yung madalas na mga calls ng mga ROFs seeking for somebody to talk with. So we are offering this, yung hotline at saka yung email address nga namin, supportrofs@dswd.gov.ph, for those who are needing emotional support, and our social workers are also responding to their request using our own personal mobile phone already, or through responding also to email. So with these inputs ay talagang na-refresh kami at nakakuha ulit ng mga panibagong tips para mas lalo naming ma-handle ang mga kalagayan ng ating mga ROFs. And most especially now, I'm a new incoming social welfare attaché. I'm preparing for actually I just finished my pre-departure orientation seminar, and looking forward that I will be deployed sometime, maybe by January po yung target, January or February, at the Philippine Embassy in Kuwait po. So thank you very much. So for now, yun lang muna kasi marami pa siguro yung pwede mag-share. Salamat po.
Thank you po for your and good luck. You're coming sa isang very challenging and exciting environment. So we look forward to your adventures there sa Kuwait. So si Miss Zara. Si Miss Zara pala merong gusto magsalita po. Can we call on Miss Zara? Okay, then Miss Annie. Miss Zara, please. Nandito ba siya?
Hello po.
Yeah.
Good afternoon po. Director Mel, good afternoon po. Hindi po, yung kasi dito sa Singapore, meron po kaming hotline na talagang naka-broadcast sa Filipino community, sa website, sa website ni OWA. Gusto ko lang din pong malaman kung ano yung minsan na nagiging epekto, kasi minsan in the middle of the night na talagang minsan ang himbing na ng tulog mo, and then may tatawag na parang tawagan mo to kasi magpapakamatay daw. Ano po ba yung, lalo na pag ganon, ano yung basic o magandang approach or atake dun sa mga biglaang gano'n na ikaw mismo na-experience mo? Yun po. Kasi minsan ako mismo matatakot. Ako mismo kakabahan. What more pa po yung nandun sa sitwasyon na yon. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir Jess, shall I answer that first?
Yes,
And
yes, you answer. Okay.
Yeah. Yung importante dyan kasi when they really call, no, kahit mabigla ka, you're relaxed. Oh, why do you say that? Yung parang hindi ka nabigla kasi pag sinabi niya to, tapos nag-react ka rin, I mean, mas lalong lalaki, di ba? So very important. Gusto ko nang magpakamatay, ganito. Okay, teka, breathe muna natin. Oh, bakit mo sinabi yan? Saan ka ba ngayon? So you try to get as many information as possible. Sinong kasama mo sa bahay, sinong mga ganito. So that meron ng mga like emergencies if ever. So that pag sinasabi na yon, sana there's also another person from the home that you can call kasi nagbigay na yung number na to assist already. Okay? So importante lang that we're also calm when they're talking about these things so that hindi magkasabay yung dalawang di ba? The anxiety and all of those things, it can double up. So maybe that's one po, ma'am. Another also, it would also be good kasi ang hirap, ang himbing na ng tulog mo, bigla kang nagising. Sana kung meron kang kasama, may mga schedule. So, for example, ito ang toke mo ngayon, swerte mo na lang kung walang tatawag sa'yo this night. Pero at least you know and the other person knows na kasama mo that I might receive a call anytime. That is an emergency. Kasi mahirap kung ikaw lang palagi. So sana you take turns also as a team. Okay? So maybe that's my take on that. Doc Jack, could you add some more?
That's really a very real concern, especially the concern of Singapore. I heard you're sharing last week, and true enough, suicide cases are really very sometimes come in uncold, unexpected moments, and that's why when you handle suicide calls, it should be a 24-hour call, but not just for two people, kasi definitely your body also needs rest, and even if you want to help, kung kulang ka rin sa tulog, bigla kasi sinagot mo, ba't ka tumawag? Ba't ako pagalitan mo pa? But definitely, I agree with Dr. Paz na sometimes it demands the impossible from our welfare officers to be always level-headed and simply to ask, because when you are suicidal, usually you are not what do you call this? You don't want people to know, and usually you call when people are not in hearing distance. So they will always call you at night. Okay, that's why when we handle situations like this, we always give them, okay, you can call me anytime. It's a blanket connectivity time with us, so that there is always somebody to talk to. The idea there is, why do we want them to call you? To cut the impulse. No? Kasi if there is nobody to cut that impulse, they may end up really ending their life. Okay, the problem is, ikaw rin, kasi you also needs rest, no? But that's the idea. You cut the impulse of ending one's life, and then you tell them, okay, I know this is something very serious. Then you distract them. You promise me that you will not do anything that will harm yourself, and let's talk about this tomorrow. I will attend to your concern early morning. Para siya rin, mapaudlot din siya. Okay, so Ma'am Sarah here is willing to talk to me. I promised her that I will not do anything. Then you can follow up. But you don't have also to spend so much time unless you ask them, like for example, how specific is the intention? If it's just simply a suicidal ideation, like, well, my life is helpless or hopeless, And they don't say, okay, I will end my life early morning tomorrow. Ay, iba lang kwento na yan. Or 4 o'clock with a gun, or I will jump from the building. And then sometimes you really have to be there also. you really have to check, no? Locate where they are. What is the nearest direction? And you have to be there because that's really an emergency. But if it's simply non-specific, then you can tell them, okay, promise me that you will not do anything harmful to yourself. Then we will talk about this. Because by distracting their thoughts, at least that will delay. Okay? Or if ever you think of killing yourself, talk to me first. So that we will decide together whether I will give you permission or not. No, but so that that will give them the pause. Yun lang importante dun. May pause sila and they will have you have the opportunity to come in and clarify where they are coming from. Yun lang ang sabi mo kasi dalawa lang kayo. Suicidal hotlines are always man 24 hours and with shifts eh. Kung dalawa kayo. Yun, that's true suggestion na dapat i-assign, okay, I'll be waking up tonight, tomorrow ikaw naman. And until such time that your colleagues from the Philippines will come over and help you. Because that's really very true.
Oh, thank you po. Actually, that's the problem. That's the concern of all the others eh. Kasi very konti lang talaga yung assigned sa mga posts na ito and they're given such a very tremendous task. So it's really very, 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 they're doing quite a good job in doing it despite the heavy workload. And it's very difficult for them how they survive. And they're ending up alive pa sa ganung situation. They're not the ones ending their lives, diba? So sobrang dami ng workload. Speaking of which, meron nagsabi how to balance si Miss Nina from Singapore, I think. Yung kasama ni Miss Sarah. So can we hear from you on how you balance your ano po? Yes. Yes, we'd like to hear from you. Miss Nina?
Very soft.
Can you speak louder po, Miss Nina?
The audio is not clear.
Sayang. Maganda marinig yung wala pa rin ng audio. Dali lang habang nag-ayos pa. Ay, doon na lang kay Miss
Ayan
Lara.
po, dito na lang po. Lilipat na lang ako dito.
Okay.
Bali, ang ginagawa po kasi namin ngayon, meron kaming biggest loser. Kasi po, totally ang hotline namin is non-stop. Ang emails po namin in a day, nakaka-receive kami halos 150. Sa isang email lang po yan. Iba pa po yung mga walk-in clients. So talagang wala po kaming time dito para sa sarili namin. So ang ginagawa na lang po namin, meron kaming ginawang contest sa biggest loser. Kasi pag na-stress kami, kinakain na lang namin. So, medyo lumalaki po kami rito. So, ang ginawa po namin, meron kaming registration. And then, for 42 days, kung sino po yung maglulus ng pinakamalaking sa kanya po mapupunta yung naging registration. At least kahit pa paano po, yung exercise, tapos nagsusumba po kami once a week, at least once a week. So may bonding kami rito, nakaka-release kami ng stress, pwede kaming sumigaw, pwede kaming magpawis, magkakasama. So by that po, kahit pa paano nakakapag-balance kami ng stress.
Yes. Congrats. That's a good positive way, proactive way of answering.
Yes po, medyo lang po yun. Katuwaan lang din po ng team namin dito. So, yun po. Sir Lance? Sir Lance?
Yes.
Apo, i-share ko na din po kay Director Mel. Hindi ko po kasi agad namin nasagot yung email kanina. Good news ko na lang din po kasi medyo kabawasan na din to ng stress namin dito sa Singapore. Yung last week po na na-share namin na yung dalawang Iloilo case na comatose, napauwi na po sila kaninang umaga.
Oo, mabuti naman, oo.
So mag-arrive po sila ng Iloilo ng 4:30.
This afternoon.
Yes po, ngayon po. Naka-monitor po kami. Okay lang po ba na maipakita ko yung larawan nila magmula nung day 1 hanggang sa ito yung ending na yung nangyari doon sa mga tao na ma-share ko po sa inyo? Okay lang po kaya?
Sige po.
Miss Sarah,
ano po?
I don't know if they want to kasi it might be.
Okay, sige po.
So, at least we know that there are, no? Unless they give you that permission, that might be something.
Okay. Sige po. Kung ano, pwede ko na rin din pong i-share. Yun nga, dun sa unang, yung day 1 na nakadalaw kami at hanggang ngayon na nakaupo na sila sa wheelchair, ay masayang-masaya naman din po na kami na nakaraos sila at talagang well na sila. Talagang masasabi po namin na talagang miracle po yung nangyari doon sa dalawang pasyente. Yun po, sinasamahan na rin din po siyempre namin ng dasal, yung mga araw-araw na ginagawa din po namin. Imagine yung last week na sinishare namin sa inyo, talaga namang grabe. At
Umatos sila.
Yes po. At ito po ngayon na naihatid po namin kaninang umaga, ay talaga naman pong napakasarap po sa pakiramdam. Yan, hinatid po namin ni Ate Nina tsaka po si Sir Louie yung pong driver po namin. Ay, thank you po.
Congratulations. Nabawasan ang stress, ano?
For sharing
Salamat
that.
po.
Ito yung sinasabi nga rin na mga exceptions, no? That despite all these frustrating events that happens, there are some good things that could happen. And dyan tayo huhugot ng lakas, no? For future events. Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay. Ang daming gusto mag-share. Si Miss Annie po, can we call Miss Annie to share po? Miss Annie, can you please share we would like to share your thoughts po, ma'am.
Okay.
Sandali lang po, nakamute pa po kayo. Naka-unmute na. Paki-unmute please. Yan. Thank you.
Ang ganda ng mga sharing at saka parang very comprehensive and very informative yung ating mga resource person. Gusto ko lang din emphasize yung compassion fatigue. Kasi yung tama sinabi ni Doc Jerry na araw-araw na ginawa ng Diyos, umaga, tanghali, hapon, hanggang gabi, hanggang pagising mo, talagang hindi mo maiiwasan yung call, yung pagtawag, mga distress call. Ikaw din mismo, isa yung kanilang nire-request. Pero, iba-ibang sitwasyon, iba-ibang case. So, iba't iba, very unique din ang iyong approach at very unique din ang interventions na ibibigay. For every case, iba-iba yung level of resources, yung internal strength, even external resources ng within the OFW or the OF, yung mga distress, at saka iba-iba din yung level of coping. So, kailangan very careful din tayo, very mindful. Ano ba yung mga positive at yung mga positive resources na nag-i-exist doon sa mga humingi ng tulong sa atin. And then, i-balance din natin ano yung ating capability. Baka kung minsan, hindi siya appropriate. Kumbaga, kasi very, very important din yung the right assessment or the right diagnosis. Kung ano yung maaring ito ang kaniyang nilalapit na tulong, but deep inside, through probing, kaya napaka-importante yung pagtatanong at palaging hindi yung cognitive. Kailangan ay more on the emotions and feelings. Kasi yung feelings, hindi yun pwedeng itanggi. Hindi siya pwedeng itanggi ng ating kausap. Ako very careful ako palagi pag sinabi niyong may mga, hindi ko pinagbabalingwala yung sinasabi nila na gusto ko na talagang magpakamatay, yung mga ganon. That are the strong signals na kailangan mo talaga siyang bigyan ng tamang panahon. Hindi pwedeng sasabihin mo na, ay bukas kita tatawagan, bukas ako ay natutulog. Hindi pwede. Kailangan ay talagang ma-feel niya yung presence mo, yung sinasabi ni Doc Jerry na nandiyan ka para makinig. At malaman niya na hindi yun ang katapusan at lahat ng problema ay may solusyon. At hindi siya nag-iisa, hindi siya maraming tutulong sa kanya. Yun lang ang gusto kong palaging emphasize na may maraming pag-asa, maraming paraan para makaalis siya doon sa sitwasyon na kanyang kinalalagyan. At ako din ay palagi ko din sa akin yung spirituality. Yung kasama palagi doon sa aking counseling and yung psychological first aid, yung kanyang sa Diyos na ano man ang kanyang relihiyon, palaging i-emphasize na merong somebody up there na tutulong at magbibigay sa kanya ng doon na hindi kaya ng tao pero kaya ng Diyos o kaya ng doon. So yun sa akin. Yung doon naman sa how to balance, ako mag-isa lang ako eh. Mag-isa lang ako sa condo, mag-isa lang ako. So, at saka 24 hours talaga ang trabaho ng social welfare attaché. At lalo ito, yung mga undocumented dito, wala sila talagang resources kundi through the social welfare attaché at saka sa assistance to nationals. So hindi po pwedeng sabihin na hindi ko pwede talagang harapin, hindi ko pwedeng din na hanggat hindi pa tapos sa kanya yung pag-uusap namin, sa kanya mag-e-end. Hindi ako nag-e-end ng aming pag-uusap. Sa kanyang at palagi ko pating yung binabalidate ko sa kausap ko na tama ba ang pagkaintindi ko sa kanyang inilalapit na problema. Kasi baka mamaya interpretation ko yon using my value judgment na which should not be. So yung siguro yun yung mga ko din dito. At yung doon sa para to keep my sanity, panonood ng Netflix, yung din, yung ako ngayon ay engrossed ako ngayon sa art therapy. Nagpe-painting. Meron ako ngayong nakilala na namin na talagang nakikita ko na yung aking mga painting, yung aking mga nagawa na parang source of joy, source of at least meron ako ganitong mga obra na sabi ko, yun nakakapagpalipas ng oras, natatapos yung oras na meron kang something tangible na nagawa mo at it gives you joy and fulfillment. Yun siguro.
Thank you very much po for sharing your insights. Very helpful nga po na we'll get to hear your thoughts. Lalo na mag-isa lang pala kayo doon. At ang dami niyo pang tinutulungan. Baka mo karamihan doon, puro suicidal yung iba doon. So it's very difficult. Very difficult situation. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. Actually, time check, mag-5 o'clock na. So I think it's time that, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. I think it's great to hear from you, your experiences. We still have one more session by Friday, I guess. Yes, by Friday. So I think we can have more time to talk and discuss about all these things in our next session. And thank you very much for participating and for everyone here. Now may we call on Ma'am Mel for her closing remarks.
Sige, as always, very very interesting yung ating sharing. Yun nga, nagkulang ng konting oras. So anyway, may last session pa tayo on Friday. Medyo related pa naman yung ano natin, di ba? Yung last session natin. So siguro yung mga hindi na-share ngayon, pwede rin naman nating i-share. Sige, so in closing siguro, we would like to thank, of course, Professor Oyi for the usual welcome remarks. Tapos yung ating suki, distinguished speakers and trainers natin, si Dr. Je at saka si Doc Paz, for their comprehensive, informative, and interesting presentations. And of course, yung ating birthday boy, si Lance, for facilitating our open forum. Thanks also, in addition dun sa nabanggit ko kanina, we also have a lot of participants from DSWD, yung iba't ibang field offices, no? Merong from Caraga, meron from Field Office 6, basta maraming iba't ibang DSWD field offices, no? So thank you for your participation and of course yung active discussions natin, no? Ang next natin webinar will be on strengthening family relations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Na-mute si Ma'am Mel.
Na-mute si Tita Mel.
Ay, nakamute ko ba?
Mel.
Na-mute na kasi nasa...
Anong part yung naputol?
Yung sa closing niya.
Hello, due to technical issues, dahil naman, the Philippines, palaging putol-putol, tapos sunod-sunod yung online. So thank you everyone. Our next session is on Friday, same time. So with our dear Dr. Jerry and Dr. Paz for our next, we hope that you would come and we'll appreciate our fruitful discussion. So thank you everyone and we hope to see you again. And thank you again for your greetings, everyone. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Bye, everyone.
Okay,
And God bless.
bye-bye.
Thank you po.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
po.
Thank you po. Madam,
Salamat po. Salamat po.
Wag naka-live.
Thank you, everyone. Opo, yung iba nandiyan pa po. Thank you. So, next week na, sa Friday na, no? This Friday. Okay. Nasa Google.